Let's talk about relationship anxiety. That is the nature of the question that I'm going to answer today. But before I get into it, I wanted to let you know that my summer group, my live coaching group that I'm calling Peace from Within Summer Camp, starts next week. Right now I'm recording it. It's June 29th, 2023, and summer camp starts July 6th. The reason I'm calling it summer camp is because I've worked with hundreds of people. And one thing that I'm seeing so clearly is this pattern where something happens. Maybe they read about something scary, something, a health thing happens to them, or they have an intrusive thought, or they have a panic attack, any number of things, and it activates their brain, and they kind of put their brain on the job. Like, brain, look out here for any shady business. Like, just look. And also look in here. Look in my head. Tell me if I ever feel off. Why don't you scan my body? Scan that too. Just tell me. Tell me everything. This is a big deal and I want you to be on guard. And our brain is just a computer. It's not going to say, I don't really know if you need me to alert you to every sensation. I think it might be more confusing if I'm scanning your whole body and I'm scanning your mind. It's just going to do it. And our brain is just going to be doing the command that we give it, falling into that habit, and then also sharing its opinion because it's like, oh, you asked. It's like, oh, you have that weird feeling. Maybe you're going insane. Maybe this is it. You told me to look out for it. And I'm laughing, but it can cause people a lot of pain because then we try to think our way out of it with the same brain that got us into it. And it's just not possible that way. And I first heard Michael Neal say this example, send your brain on holiday, on his podcast, Caffeine for the Soul. And I just saw that that's what I did. That's what I knowingly did for 7 years when I had panic attacks and derealization. I'd had anxiety long before that, but it really ramped up. And for those 7 years, yes, I did try like spiritual things as well. But I just ramped up my thinking and ramped up my doing. And it did not work. Some things worked, but nothing was deep and long lasting until I came into the 3 Principles conversation in 2018. And it's what changed my life. And it's what I base my coaching on. And that this group is based on my signature anxiety group, the group that I first started almost 3 years ago. And it's really special to me. I've revised it. And also it's kind of a living group because I show up and I'm going to tailor the lessons to what the group needs. And so I've gotten people's impact. And I've also just asked my Instagram community, like, what will your life look like when disordered anxiety and panic and OCD is no longer a part of it? And it was so beautiful to read. People were like, I'd be thriving. I'd be present. I'd go more places with ease. I'd be more autonomous. Some people were like, I'd speak my mind, and there was some specific ones like I'd have a baby or, it was just so beautiful. And some of it's just when I talk to people, they're like, it's actually simple. I just want to feel present. I just want to enjoy my beautiful life. Like they can recognize like, wow, I have great family and great friends in this beautiful life and I want to be in it and I want to be present. And if you are struggling with anxiety or panic or OCD and also feeling like the traditional things that they talk about, like grounding techniques and CBT and meditation and diet changes, and, I work with a lot of people and they're sick of their therapists or primary care physicians like pushing medication. And I think medication definitely has a place. But if that's you, I invite you to check out my Peace from Within Summer Camp. We start next week. I don't know when I'm going to offer this again, and I'm also not going to offer it at this price. This time I tried tiered pricing, and it's been interesting. So there's 3 prices you can choose from, and it's just based on the honor system, the honor code, so you decide what price works for you. So go check it out. And now let's get into the question on relationships. This person says, I've been with my boyfriend for over a year now, and we newly live together. He's my best friend, and he's been there for me through my year of bad anxiety. The last few months, I've had really bad anxiety around some of these thoughts. Why doesn't he feel like the one? I want to be with him now and don't want to break up, but I'm confused on why I don't see us in the future and what that means for us now. 2 intrusive thoughts. I don't really love him. I don't love him enough. What happens to me if we break up? Am I only with him because he's there for me? And I had asked this person if they had like a more specific question. I said, hey, I'll do it. I'll make a longer Q&A video. They said, I don't know if I have a more specific question, but I feel confused because this is the healthiest relationship I've ever been in. And I thought that meant I would have this deep in love feeling, and I don't yet. I don't want to break up, but a lot of my worries, anxieties convince me we should, but yet I never do. And when we almost did, I fought for us to stay together. It's hard to distinguish a difference between wanting to stay with him and not wanting to lose him versus something inside me telling me this isn't the relationship I want for my whole life. Anxiety versus intuition is really hard, especially with sayings like, when you know, LOL. So that was their question. And, in a way, I wish we were having a dialogue. Like, what I wish is I could maybe do like mini coaching sessions, because it's so nice to have that back and forth. But what jumps out at me, because this is the third time I've read, actually the third time that I've recorded this video, is that it's more the anxiety that's driving the confusion. It seemed clear to me when I was reading this, I don't want to break up, but my worries and anxieties convince me. It didn't seem in your writing that it was this deep knowing. And regarding anxiety versus intuition, I refer to intuition as wisdom and common sense. That's kind of what's used in the 3 principles community, because before I would talk about it as like gut instinct, or that's what I heard about it. And that didn't work for me because I felt a lot of anxiety in my gut. And when I think of intuition, I don't know, I like maybe go to my head. But with wisdom and common sense, just because I guess I connect it with this 3 principles understanding, it has a very different feel. So anxiety can feel like a loud brass band. It's urgent, it's judgmental, it's fear-based. Sid Banks would kind of call, I don't know if he said anxiety, but maybe like personal mind or ego would be like the roar of a lion. When wisdom, it's like the bleat of a lamb. So wisdom and common sense, it has our best interest at heart, but it's not urgent, it's not judgmental, it is not fear-based. Jack Pransky would call it like a loud brass band, the anxiety, versus the gentle flute. And you can hear the gentle flute when the band stops. So what I felt like through this is maybe you were trying to think your way to clarity. And I just am like throwing out names today, but Michael Neal, he has a great podcast, as I said, Caffeine for the Soul. I'm going to get my snow globe. He has a great podcast called Caffeine for the Soul. And in one of his episodes, it's like talking about a snow globe. And he said, I will never see more clearly by thinking more. We just get shaken up. And that is very true. And I think you're saying, oh, when I think more, I'm actually more confused. I don't know what's worry. I don't know what's intuition. And it's really interesting because, kind of when I was starting with talking about the group, when we say to our brain, like, solve this, our brain's not like, I don't think you need to figure it out right now. I don't think you need to figure out, is he the one? I think you can just enjoy it. The brain's like, all right, we are solving this problem, even though it might not be a problem, so then it can feel this sense, I got to figure it out. But that doesn't mean that you do. When I'm reading this, it's like, oh, wow, it doesn't seem like there's any issue. Sometimes it's like the only problem we have is that we think there's a problem, and this is why in a way I wish we were in a discussion, because I'm not saying one thing. I'm not saying you should stay with your boyfriend or that he is the one. And sometimes the pressure of, because also when, I'm going to credit this to Dick and Bettinger. He said, you can't be thinking about your life and be happy. It's when you're just in your life that this natural happiness bobs to the surface. And so when you think, when you know, it can be like really confusing because then you're in your head and then your brain starts going and these thoughts start going. I don't know. Kind of like when if you write your name and it's like big and you're like, that looks so weird. Or you write any word. Sometimes if I'm like doing something and the font's big, I'm like, that's how you spell story? Like it looks distorted because it's so big. So I'm wondering, with those things of like, what does the one feel like? What is when you know feel like? And feeling confused can just mean, hey, zoom out. Just be present with him. And I wanted to end with reading a letter from Mavis. This is a book, It's That Simple by Mavis Karn, a user's manual for human beings. And the foreword is by Michael Neal. And it's really great. It's all these letters from Mavis. And I have included them in some of my courses. And I had asked Michael if him and Mavis would be okay. And he said yes. So I love this book. I highly recommend it. And this is letter 13, In Praise of Now. Dear reader, let's do some simple math regarding time. If the past is made of memory, stored thought, and the future is made of imagination, dreamed thought, then the only time that has any reality is now, which means it is always now. It will never in your lifetime be any other time than now. And we can only ever experience now. So if we are the experiencer, the creator of our own thought-by-thought experience of our life, and the author of every moment, the most important question we can ask ourselves is simply this: how do I want to feel, experience, now? We are often advised to be present in the moment, as if there were actually any alternative available to us. For example, when I was a very young girl, my father was in the armed services in the war in Europe. One day, someone mentioned it was already Tuesday where my dad was. So I asked if we could call him so he could tell us what happened. Then we'd get to know about it ahead of time. Everyone laughed, but no one explained to me why that plan wasn't likely to work out. It took a few years, but I get it now. It is always the same now everywhere. It is always just now. And now is always enough. So why don't we just stay here and live from moment to moment? That's what I would highlight for this question. And now is always enough. So why don't we just stay here and live moment to moment? I suspect it's because, like with most habits, leaving the present to hang out in the past or future seems reasonable to us. To begin highlighting the faulty thinking behind those reasons, I'd like to share some thoughts I have about the past. It seems to me that we don't realize that the past doesn't even exist outside of our own minds. What we call the past is a collection of memories that, more often than not, are inaccurate and incomplete. It is a blend of spotty thinking, revised facts, selective editing, blatant falsehoods, and unconscious fantasies. Our pasts are stories stored in our memory banks about the best we and everybody else knew to be possible at that very time they happened. This is the simple truth. Nobody could do better until they knew better. It is also true of now. We are doing the best we know to be possible, moment by moment. And when we know better, we will do better. I think it would be really, really helpful if we all understood that about ourselves and others. It explains everything. It is why we cannot have a better childhood, and it is why we need to stop telling ourselves we can't enjoy life now until some mythical moment in time when our past never happened. The same is true about the future. For example, many years ago, I was at a family gathering, sitting in a rocking chair with a relative's newborn daughter in my arms. It was a lovely, soothing feeling to just look at her and marvel at her perfect tininess. I began overhearing some snippets of conversations nearby. Won't it be nice when she sleeps through the night? Just wait until she starts smiling. That's the best. I bet you'll be glad when you can wear your regular clothes again. Won't she be lovely when she grows some hair? Unwittingly, everyone was creating subtle dissatisfaction with now by focusing on how much better things would be in an imaginary future. Then it occurred to me that I did the same thing on a regular basis, using phrases like, I can hardly wait until, won't it be nice when, I wish blank would be over so that blank can start happening, etc. Isn't that an interesting habit of using one's thinking? Since now is the only time that actually exists, it seems a shame to waste it by always wanting to trade it for something better in an imaginary future. If you are anything like me, keeping your attention on now has been an elusive task at times. But the good news is, leaving now to get lost in the remembered past or imagined future is just a habit. That means we can catch ourselves at it in any moment and come straight back home to now. The more clearly I see this, the more I notice myself and others doing it so naturally without effort. I see that we were all born with the present moment as our default state, and just got slowly, innocently, incrementally educated away from hanging out there. This is as true in our actions as it is in our thinking. There is an ancient Taoist concept known as Wu Wei, which roughly translates as effortless action or spontaneity. This is the state of mind babies and small children exist in most of the time. It is also a good description of the zone. Most athletes I've known both personally and professionally, are well acquainted with the zone, as are artists, musicians, scientists, writers, and anyone else who periodically finds themselves completely absorbed in something beyond themselves. The zone has been described as a feeling of timelessness, a no-thought sensation, a sense of complete well-being, and responsiveness where we have everything instantly available for the task at hand. Most of us tend to believe that this seemingly magical state of flow is only available in a specific activity or a set of circumstances, and even then only sporadically, appearing out of the blue when we least expect it. But what if the zone is portable? What if it's experienceable anytime, anywhere, by simply getting out of the way and allowing ourselves to fully experience whatever it is that we are doing now? Can you see that means we are only ever one busy-headed moment away from being in the zone and experiencing flow now? Could it be that simple? Love, Mavis. And I hope that was helpful. And I'm sending the person that asked this question a lot of love and good thoughts, as to you all that are watching this video. And if you're interested in seeing me all of July and all of August, come and join Peace from Within Summer Camp. If you have any questions, email me and I will answer them.